George Conway joins us now. Thanks for being with us. Thanks for getting up early. Before we even get into the merits of the value of his brand, what do you think of this as a legal strategy?
The what is a legal strategy?
Running his mouth during a deposition?
There is no strategy.
Right.
Okay, everybody talks about him having a strategy. Right. It's like that quote I remember once in Politico a few years ago where they said, you know, he's not, it was a blind quote from administration officials, says, he's not playing 17-dimensional chess. He's just eating the pieces. And that's what he's doing in the courtroom, in the Carroll case. That's what he's doing there. There is no strategy. He's a psychopath. He's a sociopath. And if you look at the diagnostic criteria for a sociopath, they're purely impulsive. He acts instinctively. He has no real intellect. His intellect is reptilian in a sense. He's got a limited number of riffs. There's bullying, there's lying, and there's and that's basically what it comes down to.
Except that we have seen him in other trials plead the fifth, so he does have the discipline to do that when he thinks it behooves him.
Right, but that wasn't that you know how much work that probably took to do that. I mean, remember, there's this great passage in, I think, Bob Woodward's first book on the Trump administration, on Donald Trump, where it was Jim Dowd, I think it was trying to figure out whether they could put him into a room with Special Counsel Mueller to have him interviewed, and not even under oath. And he just melted down when they cross-examined him, and they had to convince him not to appear before Mueller because he would have just destroyed himself. So, but it was a big fight, and so that what they did the first time around, managing to persuade him not to testify and to plead the fifth 440 times, was an amazing thing. But you know, he does understand that. The other thing is too, he doesn't like to be questioned under oath because he doesn't necessarily control it, particularly in a courtroom. So that's why, you know, for all the nonsense and the performative behavior that he's doing right now in this trial in New York, and saying, oh, she's lying, and all the sort of comments that by the jury, it's like, okay, dude, you could have testified under oath the first time around, and you didn't even show up. Okay, and. Well, anyway, that's it.
Well, then, George, so two things. It struck me in this deposition video that, and I believe Donald Trump when he speaks, and I think he does believe that his brand is his brand value is his greatest asset, as he said, because it's all been a big grift, right? Yeah. And the civil fraud trial goes directly to the heart of his brand value. Right. It could bankrupt him, and he wouldn't be able to do business. In the E. Jean Carroll trial, I have not figured out why he is showing up in the way that he is on this one.
Again, there is no strategy. It's just all emotional. It's all, look, again, it's bragging and lying and intimidating and bullying. I mean, that's literally, those are the things that he does. And there he's trying to bully. There he's just angry.
Angry at being held accountable.
Angry at being held accountable, and you know, he's a 5-year-old, okay? Except intellectually more challenged than most 5-year-olds. He's emotionally stunted at 5 years old, and he throws tantrums. And this is a big tantrum. This is him just showing frustration. Yeah, throw me out. Nah, 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 nah. Right? That's what the judge says. You can't really help yourself, and he can't. He can't. Psychologically, he's so damaged, he cannot help himself. He's hurting himself. Like, Alina Habba, as terrible a lawyer as she is doing some stuff that actually makes sense. Some stuff.
Like what?
But she's trying to minimize his effect on her. For example, I mean, it's nonsense, but like, oh, there were 5 hours before the president made a comment in 2019 where people were attacking you. So it wasn't really Donald Trump, you know, who was causing you harm. It's nonsense. So she's trying to minimize the effect he had on her, and then he's there making these comments in open court, holding a press conference outside, and posting stuff at 2 in the morning that completely undoes what they're trying to do in the courtroom. It's loco. He's loco. He cannot, as the judge said, help himself.
Well, I want to broaden it out a little bit because it's interesting, this sort of brand idea.
Yeah.
And you do see it playing out narratively in a number of places. But it's interesting how the brand idea applies in the immunity case.
Yeah.
Because there again, the president is, it's about his brand.
Right.
As president,
Right.
I have, and you know, the idea that this immunity is going to cross the line. Rolling Stone headline and subhead: Trump demands total presidential immunity even for acts that cross the line. The former president has made clear once again that he believes the office should have absolute power. That goes to the heart of the brand,
well,
right?
It's
Of being the president is, my brand is, I'm the guy. So therefore, I'm not accountable, right? Unless I'm convicted, right? Through impeachment. How does that play when you look at the presidential aspect? I mean, I get the 5-year-old,
Look,
but then you got to be president
I
too.
think everybody overthinks this guy. There's no strategy. There is no thought. And the brand is just him. He lives in this world where there's just him. Okay?
But it's not just him, George. It's a hell of a lot of people out there
I understand.
who've gotten sucked up into this thing
I agree
and
with
that are perpetuating
I agree with
that brand.
I'm talking about in his mind.
Okay.
None of us matter. Those people don't matter. They're not real people. He doesn't care what happens to them. If they show him adulation and they do what his bidding, that's good. If they don't do his bidding, he will destroy them. He will discard them. None of us, in his mind, okay, he's someone, as a man with no empathy, a man with no conscience. It's just him. And it's not that I am promoting a brand. This is me. In his mind, in his deeply damaged mind, he has created this world where I don't have to follow the rules. I shouldn't have to follow the rules. If someone tries to make me follow the rules, they're evil and bad and nasty and needs to be destroyed.
Right.
And it's a witch hunt, and I'm a victim.
But what makes him more dangerous is that he is trying to codify it, right? He's making this argument about presidential immunity where there is no line that could be crossed, and where he very much conflates things that are within the context of presidential responsibility and things that are very much not, like overturning a fair and free election.
I mean, I just want to note for folks, he posted on his social media site that presidents must have full immunity to avoid indictments being filed against them by the opposing party. The protections of immunity, he added, should extend even to events that cross the line. He's making the argument that his lawyer made in the appeals court. Like, essentially, you could assassinate one of your rivals as president of the United States of America.
It's not new. It's again, to understand Trump's authoritarianism, his racism, his misogyny, and everything else about him, you have to understand his basic psychology, which is he's a narcissistic sociopath. It's not a philosophy. It's not a legal argument to him. Yes, he's parroting what his lawyer said, but this is something that he believes because it's about him. He once said, remember, Article 2 allows me to do whatever I want, referring to Article 2 of the Constitution. Of course, you know, when Barack Obama was president and did something he didn't like, he tweeted out once, it should be prosecuted, right? It's not about any legal principle. It's not about a brand. It's all about me, I, and there's me, and none of the rest of you matter.
I know you're not leaving, but my last question on this point is then, what does this mean? I mean, y'all been Republicans for a long time. Yes, y'all. George Conway is a Republican.
I'm not.
Well, a former Republican.
March 2018, I'm going to sue you for libel.
Oh, well, bring it, George. Bring it. Well, he used to be a Republican. I'm just wondering, what does this mean for all of these people that are now saying, got to get back on the Trump train? Like, if what you... It's
crazy because this man Look, it's all a combination of grift, cowardice, and it's an ambition in the case of like Tim Scott. Okay, that's what this is all about for the people. You know, I'm leaving apart the masses, but these people. Those are the three things. And what's amazing to me, though, all of it's amazing. I mean, the corruption, the grift. You know, I don't know what you can do about that. The cowardice is just an amazing thing to me because he's not scary at all. He's a moron. He can't even spell. He doesn't know. I mean, this man couldn't find Israel on a marked map.
I don't think you like Donald Trump.
Yeah.